So our genre was horror, and I was like, "Oh, Nick, I'm gonna use that idea that I
Oh
said to
boy.
you a month ago." And so we started like writing it, and it was basically like July 1st we had no script, and then August 5th we submitted a full film, like a full short
Wow.
to the competition.
All right, Tristan.
What a weird week it's been.
It has been a weird couple of weeks. Why? What's been going on for you?
Oh, something orange, something bad, something rich, something terrible. No, we won't even go that far. We are recording this early for this episode, but let's just get into who's on today's episode.
All right. Today we were talking to a couple of my friends, Lyn Whitaker, who's an actor, producer, and a writer, and Nick Dunn, who is also a writer, an actor, and a teacher, both based here in Utah. We're friends. We all follow each other on Twitter, and now I guess Blue Sky, which is where people are migrating to. We were all talking one night, and I found out that Nick was a screenwriter, and I was like, no way. And then Kate was there with him, and I guess they've worked on projects together. And so I was like, you guys should come on to my podcast. I talk about movies and stuff. And they're like, okay. So, yeah.
This was a fun one. They're both very spirited, and it was a great discussion on how do you get something written? What does that process look like when you sit down in a coffee shop or at home? So for anyone interested in indie filmmaking, this is a great episode.
Afterwards, stick around to find out what we've been watching lately.
How are you guys?
So good. How's Bear Lake right now?
So great. Do you want to see my view out the window?
I do.
Okay, let me see if I can get you there. Let's see. Actually, my view out the window kind of sucks, but
Okay, never mind. It's
yeah,
super
you don't want
blurry.
to
Okay, cool.
Yeah, never mind.
I'll be there. I'll be there either tonight or tomorrow morning.
Okay, sick.
Nice to meet you, Kate. Nice to meet you, Nick. I'm Tristan.
Hi, Tristan.
There we go.
So how do you three know each other? What's the story here?
Twitter.
Twitter.
True.
Basically.
A real Twitter friend story. Okay, so was it one of the parties Madison posted, or was it environmentalism in Utah?
It was kind of a pub night.
Oh, there it is. All right, fun.
Yeah, we all are in that circle. And then Madison was like, I have a podcast. Do you want to come on it? And me and Nick were like, sure.
Because we were talking about movies one night, and my back was hurting, and I was very inebriated. And then I heard that they were writers and actors, and I was like, hell yeah, do you want to come on my podcast?
Let's get them on the pod. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And are you both from Utah, Kate and Nick?
Yes.
Both
Yep.
in Salt Lake.
Both in Salt Lake, so born and raised from Utah, so all three Utah kids. That's kind of fun. As far as entertainment goes, have you been in entertainment for a few years, or what's your experience there like?
Nick, you go first. You have way more experience than me.
Just because I'm older. I've been doing it for a long time. I did a undergraduate degree in acting and was working in the theater and film industries as an actor for quite a while, but always had ambitions to write. And I was writing for like children's theater. And then I did the Salt Lake Film Society for a couple of years had a program that was grant funded with them, Sundance, and the Academy of Motion Pictures. And for the 3 years that ran, I was lucky enough to get accepted and participate in one of the years. It was a screenwriting program. And from that, I started working in like TV and film as a script coordinator, and then ended up writing and in some cases script supervising while I was still acting and writing plays. I eventually decided to go get my MFA in screenwriting and playwriting. And now I teach in the film department at Salt Lake Community College and in the theater department at the University of Utah and make stuff when I can.
That's awesome. So kind of a holistic, rounded background as well as now kind of giving back. And did you do your MFA in Utah as well?
No, I did my MFA in Pittsburgh.
In Pittsburgh. Okay. Very
I see
cool.
Me and Earl and the Dying Girl poster behind you, which was shot there.
I absolutely love that movie. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. Yep.
Yeah, great movie. I have a friend who was in it from Pittsburgh. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
she's just
awesome.
in it for a minute, but
That's super cool. And I was going to say, for our listeners who don't know, when you talk about being a script coordinator, script continuity, can you describe what that is like a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Script coordinator is kind of like it's a writer's room position, and it's basically the the job of the script coordinator to keep track of all the revisions that are happening in the script, and then serve as the liaison between the different departments. So if something changes for actors, if something changes for wardrobe or props, that information basically needs to get to them immediately and clearly so they can make changes as things are going into production, or in some cases as things are already in production.
Wow.
So yeah, tracking all the revisions, tracking legal stuff. So if there's a new name or a new place added to the script for the bigger productions, that has to be checked against what we call clearances to make sure it's clear to be used, that there's not going to be a lawsuit because that name was used, which comes up bizarrely. When I was working for HBO, the head writer on a project was Ed Solomon, and he deliberately wrote the weirdest name he could come up with for the position of a professor at a school because he just wanted to get it through clearance as fast as he could. It was like jargon, and it didn't clear. Someone out there had that name and worked at a university in a field similar to this. Yeah, he was like throwing things at the wall just to see what would stick and coming up with the weirdest stuff he could.
Stranger than fiction.
He didn't try Professor Berg? Professorson?
That was like the next step. At that point, it was like arranging fridge magnets just to see, So anyway, that's what a script coordinator does. And then a script supervisor is an on-set position that's keeping track of continuity, basically. And so is the script being shot the appropriate way? Is all the dialogue being included? Are eye lines going to match in the edit? Wow. Are there things on the set that have moved that need to be replaced or fixed? It's kind of an impossible job, I think. I never want to do it again.
You probably won't have to do it again because Nick's working on some good stuff this year that's coming up for next year. I'm serious, and he's too humble to talk about it.
Well, speaking of, it's your turn to introduce yourself.
Okay, well, first let me just say Nick's working on a feature that's going to shoot in Utah next year if everything continues to go smoothly. But yeah, you're a creative producer on it?
Yeah, I'm a producer on it and one of the writers on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
One of two writers.
Yeah, and it's going to be kind of a big deal, in my opinion. I was very excited for him when I heard about it.
If it happens, like that's all it happens. Right?
Yeah, you never know. The rug could get pulled out from under you at any time, but it's continuing to roll along. And I've been friends with Nick during a lot of this process where he's like, well, they keep greenlighting stuff and things keep getting pushed forward, so we're going to keep going. Mm-hmm. Anyways. Yeah, so you'll probably never have to be script supervisor or script coordinator ever again, Nick. This is it.
I hope not.
Never again.
I loved being a script coordinator. Being a script supervisor is too hard.
Yeah, it is very good. Like, I've never done it, but when I have been on set and the script supervisor comes up to me, I'm like, oh crap, like what did I do wrong? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
I was going to say on that note before we go any further, I feel like whenever I bring up to someone, oh, we're interviewing a writer or my friend's a writer, they're like, oh, they must be creative and just have notes everywhere and be random and unorganized. And I'm always like, no. Mm-hmm. Those who work with writing and scripts and stuff like that, they seem to be the most organized people. You see a corkboard full of note cards or script coordinators or supervisors keeping track of continuity. It's always like there seems to be a need for the organization, and the good ones seem to have it. So it's cool you have that background.
Yeah, so certainly by the time it's getting into production, yeah, it's got to be that.
All right, well, Kate, tell us a little bit about yourself then. So not on the writing side.
I've been like in theater since I was really young, but not like anything crazy, just like community theater. Really loved it growing up. In high school, I was like the literary magazine's poetry editor. Like I loved writing growing up. And then I graduated high school and I was like, I have to be like a real adult now. So I like abandoned all of my passions. And then when I was 25, I was like, I'm kind of done like hating my life and thinking of and not doing art. So I started going to therapy. I started doing all the artistic stuff again. So yeah, I've done like some commercial work, nothing huge, but like, just locally. I've done commercial work, more like community theater. I've produced and written some short films. In fact, that's what me and Nick most recently did. We wrote and produced a short film together. And yeah, I also write like for like a construction company right now. I do like training videos for them, but nothing like super
Adobe.
nothing super fancy. Yeah, and I've done some stuff for Adobe, so that's been fun. But yeah, that's me. I act and I write, and hopefully someday I can write a feature-length screenplay. I'm working on a couple, so.
That's very cool. So, like you're saying, staying busy in different avenues, but really working on the shorts and things like that. Talk to me a little about the short you guys wrote. Is this face to face? Is that right?
Yes.
What's this about? Where did it come from?
So I think in July, I told Nick, I was like, it'd be kind of fun to write as like a play or something. I was like, it would be really cool to write a story about a guy who's a voyeur and he keeps showing up to this little girl's window. And one day she catches him and he convinces her that he's God. And then she keeps letting him come to the window and he starts like screaming, Madison's muted, but he's like, laughing and so I was like, that would be like kind of sick, right? Like to just write this really fucked up thing that's like, yeah, this man like has groomed her to the point where she's like, I need to obey God and open this window and let him in. So like a month later ish, I submitted for a competition where they wanted people to like sign up, and then they assigned you a genre and they told you like a prop that you have to include. So our genre was horror, and I was like, oh, Nick, I'm going to use that idea that I said to you a month ago. And so we started like writing it, and it was basically like July 1st, we had no script. And then August 5th, we submitted a full film, like a full
Wow.
to the competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick, do you have any thoughts? Like, I mean, we wanted it to be like very stylistic, and we kind of took a lot of inspiration from Night of the Hunter, if you've ever heard of that movie. It's from 1955, I think. It's free to stream on Tubi, and that's what I tell everybody. Go stream it. It's so good. It's also about religious manipulation, and it was very forward-thinking for the time. It's in black and white. We shot ours in black and white. Kids are the protagonists, and in this one, there's a kid who's the protagonist and like an evil man who thinks he's like, he's tricking people and convincing them he's righteous when really he's like a serial killer. Anyways. That's kind of what we wrote. I don't know, Nick. What are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, it was cool because this competition or festival or whatever you want to call it kind of gave us some parameters to work really quickly. And so, like Kate said, like we sat down in a coffee shop and she had started a draft, and we kind of just busted it out that afternoon. Just worked on it, which was kind of nice because. I remember specifically, it was a day where I didn't want to be like thinking about anything.
Oh, you were having a rough day. You came in.
So I was like, yeah, let's just immerse ourselves in this story and not think about something else. So we got a script that I think we were confident we could shoot pretty quick. And then, but because there was so little time, Kate just started pulling her strings and got us an actress, a 6-year-old actress, which is hard to find.
Wow.
And she was very good. Mm-hmm. And her mom, who's an actress, to play her mom, but also kind of be there on set and help. Yeah, what seemed like a really insurmountable task came together really quickly. We shot it, we edited it, we delivered it on time. We won Best Style at this little festival because, like Kate said, it's very stylized. It's very much an homage to Night of the Hunter. So yeah, it was fun.
That's cool.
Without Nick, it wouldn't have happened. Like as I was going through this, I was like, how are we going to find all these people? And I just kept like pulling people into it and like asking for favors. Like we found a house to shoot in, and then suddenly the actors had lined up. And me and Nick, we spent hours and hours editing this. It took so long. We just sat there like staring at the computer for hours, but like without Nick, it would not have happened. Like it was very much like a team thing. It was really awesome.
I was gonna say, I've heard that you make a movie like 3 times. Like you write it, you film it, and then you edit it. And like, Nick, I'm sure you've worked on bigger projects than this kind of flash in the pan. But like, what are the kind of the trade-offs between working on something that's much longer, the production time is much longer, versus a flash in the pan experience like this where you completed it in a month?
Oh yeah, it's a great question. So on the one hand, like I felt, I wouldn't say nervous, but I had misgivings the whole time because it was happening so quick about like, what am I missing, or what have we
Uh-huh.
overlooked, or what's going to, in the edit going to be a big problem for us to solve because of how quickly we're moving. Fortunately, like Kate said, everyone that was involved like knew their shit and knew what they were doing, and so we never really ran into anything that I thought was difficult. There were certainly like shots I wish we had if we'd had more time, but working with a little kid in 1 day shoot makes that tough. You're only going to get so much from them.
We only had one take of some of the stuff we got.
For
That's
most of her,
yeah.
one take, yeah. But she was great. Like our plan worked, which was very, very good because it was made so quickly. On the other hand, though, because it was such a flash in the pan kind of project, we were able to ride sort of everyone's enthusiasm the whole time because no one was tired of it yet. No one was worn out. No one was looking ahead to like the next thing that they had to accomplish. So in a way, that was a strength too, was that everyone was like committed for the amount of time that was needed to get it there. We had a guy who it became a family affair because Chris, the guy who did our sound design, is the father of the little girl and the husband of the actress who played her mom. So we had this like family working on it, which was fun for them. And he had another project like right behind the delivery date when we needed ours. So there were times where he and I were emailing each other at like midnight, 1 a.m, just to make sure files were transferring properly and stuff like that. But because of the truncated timeline, no one was kind of upset about that or like put off, I think, by it. Everyone's like, let's get it done, let's deliver, which was cool. I think that energy really, I don't know, Kate, you think so? Like it sustained us.
Totally. Yeah. And I think too, I know you told me after it was done, you were like, it just feels so good to finish something. Cause I know this feature that you're working on, you've been writing for so long, and now it's finally all coming together to the point where like you have some actors attached and things, but like it still hasn't been finished. Like it's not done.
Not even close.
So, yeah. So I think like, especially when it's like a quick timeline, to like stare at the screen and be like, oh, we made something, like we put something out into the world, and when we got it done quickly and now we have like something to show for it. It was just really cool and really fun. And I think too, because of like the quick timeline, the actors were like more interested in being a part of it because they knew they would get like footage for their reels back really quickly. Mm-hmm. And like, especially when you're a child actor, like you need that quick. Like in 2 years, if your film gets released in 2 years, you've already outgrown like that look that you had when you were 6. Like she can't use that when she's 8, So it's just like, yeah, it just is really helpful for the actors involved. And I think too, like, we pulled in just like some friends. So like Ryan Ross was the cinematographer and the colorist, and he graduated from the U earlier this year. So I think he was just really excited to work on a project that was like, oh yeah, it's like pretty short. Like it's a 1 day commitment for filming, and then I just have to color. And he loves doing that. So it's just like a fun little project to work on that wasn't like a huge time commitment. So I think people are just really excited about that. Like, oh, if I do my part, like it'll be done really quick.
Yeah.
It was really fun. We've already been talking like, oh, we want to make something else again.
Yeah, you're right. You're totally right. There was something about like being forced to just get something done in a way was kind of therapeutic because there's, as an artist, you have so many projects in the air all the time. I've got another short film that's maybe 2 minutes longer than Face to Face that has been in post-production for almost 3 years. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that's mostly because half the people involved all had babies, but yeah, it felt good to finish something.
Yeah. What do you think that process looks like? I mean, like you're saying, it feels good to finish something. It's a tight timeline. Do you think more people should be looking at film festivals and kind of forcing themselves to make things, especially with the way the industry is right now? Or do you feel like there's still a good push to like just write long features and keep submitting them to competitions and stuff like that? How do you feel like there's a difference there, for at least for you?
For me, I definitely think that like it can be such a grind to be an artist of any kind, but in the film industry in particular, where there's so many moving parts, there's so many people involved, or even if you're doing so much by yourself, it just takes such a long time. I think you've got to find ways to continue to develop your voice and like flex your creative muscles and your technical muscles. And so for me personally, having something like that or projects like that that happen quickly or quicker than other ones is important. Yeah, because I've got a play that I have been working on for. I mean, we're coming up on a decade now, and it's been produced. It's won awards. It's been workshopped ad nauseum. If I had just been focused on that, if that had been my only goal, I don't think I'd have ever finished that, let alone other projects, because I would have stalled as a creative, you know?
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's like super valuable what you're saying. Like having projects going on at once, I think helps you get motivated to finish your other ones. Like your more longer term projects, you like once you finish something and it's done and out there, you're like, oh, really great. That was really cool. Let's go back to those longer term projects. I might like a feature length screenplay or like this play, right? That play took you like what, 5 years to write, just to write it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, like you stall because it's like if that's your only thing you're working on, you just get bored of it or it just gets really tiring because it's like, man, like, I don't know, it just takes a lot of effort. So yeah, it's so fun to do that. And I think, I mean, your question was kind of like which one's more valuable. And I really think both are valuable. Like they both do different things for you. It's different ways of flexing your creative muscles. Like one of them just takes so much patience to like take a feature length film or a screenplay all the way to the end. Like it takes ages and ages. And if you're like forced to be on a tight deadline, you're just like, okay, let's write a script. We get it done. And then let's find actors and let's find this and let's do this. And it's just a different way of being creative. And I think both are valuable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear that so often of like, if you only have one thing, it becomes precious and you can't let something precious be finished because then what's next?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like you guys staying busy in multiple plays plus keeping irons in the fire and working on those longer term projects seems to be a winning solution.
So what I'm hearing then is that it's okay that I've got like 3 books that I've been writing. I've only written a chapter in the last year.
Absolutely, man.
Writers group, man. Jeff's working on his novel. Nick's working on stuff. I'm working on stuff. And then you can like see how long it takes to just make all this stuff happen.
Oh, hey, my cousin joined that group, didn't she?
Did you? Yeah, I think so. Maybe.
Yeah, my cousin's. Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, dude, that's valuable because writing is lonely, man. It is isolating, and
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never once felt lonely in my life writing my stuff.
Yeah, it's so helpful just to have like sitting next to other people who are doing it too.
Yeah, and to just
body double me.
Well, and like it also gives you an insight of like, oh, this is the process behind the scenes that nobody sees. So when you see someone at the Oscars like winning the award for best screenplay, nobody has watched the years and years they spent editing, all of the drafts that it went through, all of the rejections, like nobody sees that. And so when you have friends who are going through that same process, it's just so motivating to be like, oh, duh, like this is just what being a writer is. Like you just it's slow. It's you just need patience and like dedication. And I think sometimes we think it's just easy and that words just fall onto the page and that the heavens have opened and told me exactly what to write. And that's just not how it works.
That's not how it works for you guys? That's weird.
Wow, so weird. That one chapter you wrote fell out of the heavens for you.
Except face to face. We wrote that in one sitting.
Yeah, that one did fall out.
That one was just waiting inside of me because it's a lot about religion and things I've just felt for a while.
Yeah.
So my question is, writing is it's a hard game, and you have to rely a lot. I know that a lot of it is like if you just like build your creative muscles, you can just like start being creative like on demand. But like, where are your creative inspirations? Like, where are they sourced from? Like, when you like, oh, I need like some inspiration. Like, what are you doing? What are you watching? What are you listening to?
You want to go first?
Okay. I mean, I can talk about some of mine. I love Guillermo del Toro. So I'll go back to like some of his movies that have inspired me the most, particularly Devil's Backbone is like one of my all-time favorite movies. It's my favorite movie of his. I think finding movies that like inspire you to create or just make you go, holy crap, that was so good. I would love to like give someone an experience like that someday. And I also think just taking from your own life, like if there's something that you've been through and you want to like write a story about it or an experience. And sure, I never had a man be a voyeur in my window and say like, come here, little girl, and open this window for me and be obedient. But like, I've have seen other things of like people being groomed and people being manipulated, and I wanted to put that into a story. And so like if there's things you feel strongly about yourself, write about it. Who cares if other people like it? Like it's for you. Like you're doing it to take something inside of you and make something out of it and like put it out into the world. So
yeah, definitely. I echo like there are filmmakers and that I love and I return to all the time, and that helps me. Music is huge for me. Like I've found that when I'm sort of starting to discover a story or marinate an idea, I make like a soundtrack for it. I make a playlist and then I walk. So for me, it's huge to like, take my dog for a walk, put the headphones on and listen to music. And the story starts to unfold in my mind that way. That's just huge for me, is like walking and listening. So that's definitely something I do. I also think like whenever I start to get jammed up on the story or I'm not sure what's next or I'm frustrated by it, I go participate in something. I go to some kind of group activity. I see a play. I go to a concert. I just find that like getting outside of myself helps an awful lot. There's something about like I'm not the biggest socializer. I think I'm a bit introverted, but even just being among
not a pub nights, you're not.
No, well, it's that social lubricant that helps.
Yeah,
but yeah, like I think being around people is really kind of unlocks things, because ultimately a story is about humans communicating.
At the end of the day, that's all it is.
Yeah.
So as a writer, you can't be fully locked in your room 24 hours a day. There has to be some more interaction.
No, I consider it like a good writing day if I've put 2 solid hours in.
That is so refreshing for me to hear.
It's a battle, man. It's a battle against the blank page. So
it is.
That energy is hard to sustain. But I went in grad school, we talked about this a lot because it kills so many potential writers. It's just like, we all have like our jobs and it's hard to carve out time. And then you sit down and you have to have this like open mind to start filling the page up. It's hard. And so we talked a lot. I had a professor in grad school who was like, did the math on 3 pages a day and how many, and then no weekends, just 3 pages a day, 5 days a week. How many pages is that at the end of the week, at the end of the month, at the end of the year? That's progress. It's actually a lot. You can stack up a lot of pages. And I know it's not just page count that matters, but yeah, I think sitting down for an hour, 2 hours a day and doing something without interruption is a huge win.
Yeah.
And Madison, you should just join our writers group and start coming to like our writers meetups that we do.
I should. I will.
We shop and we write, and then if someone has a question or if they're like, "Hey, what's your thought on this thing I'm working on?" Like it's really fun.
Yeah. And usually we'll write really hard. Like people will be quiet and kind of typing for an hour or two, and then it devolves a little bit into just people hanging out and having conversation. And that's
okay, fine. You've convinced me. I'll do it.
This is why you guys came on today.
Yeah.
Well, we just really want to know what Madison's writing about. We want to see inside of his soul, That's really why we're here.
I bear myself all the time. I'm always an open book. No, I've got a question, Kate, and we've never had this conversation. You have a love for the movie Surf's Up.
Oh my god!
And I also have a love for the movie Surf's Up, and so I'm really like I want to hear your take on the movie Surf's Up.
Okay. Well, the first time I ever saw it, obviously it was like ages ago. It was like 2008, I think, at this point. No, 2007, because this was the 17-year anniversary this year. And that in 17 is the same age that Cody Maverick is in the movie. Anyways, so 17 years ago, they made this movie Surf's Up. And when I first saw it, I hadn't seen many mockumentaries before. So I just fell in love with the idea of somebody telling a story to the camera, and then they just they just cut to what actually happened. I thought it was hilarious. I thought the humor was so good. Like where Cody's like, yeah, I just really thought he needed some space, so I gave him some space. And like, and then they cut directly to what happened. He's like, "You're a big C. You're a big C. What happened? You're dead. No, you saw something. You saw something you weren't supposed to see. It was and then like instead of because he's like super chill in the interview, he's like, yeah, I was really calm about it. And like that's so real life where people like twist stories. I mean, I do it too. Like where we're telling what happened, and then it's like, well, let's show you what actually happened. Like it's so funny to me. And I love like the improvisational nature of it. Like I've watched all the behind the scenes. I have a huge book that's just dedicated to Surf's Up, what the production process was like. I do. I can show it to you. I'm not at home.
Believe.
I would pull it out of my closet right now if I was at home. I also have a penguin that has a Big Z necklace that I got last year that someone like made. It's lovely. Anyways, I love the humor of it. I love the improvisational nature of it. I also just love I love movies where someone takes themselves like so seriously and it's just funny. Like Cody really thinks he's doing something, man. He's like, I want to get away. I want to get away from this stupid place. Like, I don't know. I just love it. I can't describe it exactly, but like it has been a huge inspiration to me of like Sony gave people a budget to make that. They hired Shia LaBeouf and Zooey Deschanel and
Jeff Bridges.
I was like, Jeff, don't remember. Yeah, but yeah, like it's just so fun to me. I just think it's so like people just got together and made a stupid little movie about penguins, and it has inspired me and given me laughter. And it shows me that I don't have to take my work like so serious. In the pre-production stages, they had a concept of a whale way station in Shiverpool where like the whales, that's how they transported people and things like across the penguin universe is like through a whale way station. And I'm like, if this is like what people were paid to do, I don't have to take my job so seriously. Like it can be fun and it can be funny, Anyways, what about you, Madison? How do you feel about Surf's Up?
Oh, I love Surf's Up because growing up in Utah, I fancied myself a little surf boy. I had long blonde hair, I had a cowrie shell necklace.
Okay.
I wore board shorts. I wore board shorts to school and flip flops, and I just like listened to Jack Johnson all the time. So I was like, this is my personality. I think I love Surf's Up because I certainly love the form and the function of the story. Is the mockumentary and stuff, but I love the spiritual core of it, where Cody's like, I need to win this competition so that I can show everyone that I'm good, and Z's like, no, you've lost the point of surfing if you think that that's the thing that makes you good. And then the whole thing of just like, you just surf to surf. And then he doesn't even, when he's teaching him how to surf, he's teaching him how to play. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, that's such a good spiritual core to this movie. I love it so much.
For sure. And that actually like ties back to kind of what we're talking about with like making short films. Cause like the short film that me and Nick made, it went to a competition over the weekend and it didn't win it. And stepping away from that experience, I was like, yeah, who cares? My reward is that we made a film in a month and that we're proud of it. Like genuinely, like I wasn't trying to like console myself or anything about it. I was just like, you know what? We made a thing and that's so fun and so cool. And it was what we wanted. And so it goes back to that. Like if you're doing it to win, if you're doing it to be famous, you're probably going to be kind of miserable. I know people who do want to be famous and they're on their way to being famous, but the road has been miserable for them. Like I can see that they're miserable because they're so dedicated to just making it. And I'm like, I can't do it that way, man. Like I will die of stress. Like if I tell myself I have to be famous and rich, I just want to make stuff and I just want to be proud of what I'm making at the end of the day.
That's great. What a great attitude that, like you're saying, making something is more important than the accolades are elsewhere. So Surf's Up really hits you to the core, right?
Mm-hmm. It's like when Mikey's like, oh, I'm in it. I love the surfers that are in it for the joy. A winner. That's what he says. Winners are in it for the joy. They don't care about the awards or whatever. Then he's like, oh, and the slow motion instant replay, my favorite part. He says something about that in the movie. But I agree with him. I agree with Mikey. They're in it for the joy.
They're in it for the joy.
Now, Nick, I saw when you submitted your answers in our kind of form, all your favorite shows and movies. I love all of them. So I'm like, okay, this is all good. We have, similar tastes here. But what have you watched recently that's kind of impacted you or stuck with you, whether it be a big swing or just a message or something?
Um, oh geez, that's a tough question. I rewatched it's a Netflix series, but it's actually a Channel 4 British series called Dairy Girls. Have you guys watched Dairy Girls?
Oh,
Oh, I'm
I
watching it right
love.
now.
Mm.
Oh man, I am obsessed with it. I've been through it a couple of times, and it's like the type of thing I'll put on in the background while I'm grading papers or whatever. So I just finished the series because it's just 3 seasons again last night, and I don't get tired of it. Lisa McGee's writing is so good. Those characters are brilliant. It's also so economical. Like, they're 25-minute episodes and there's not a ton of them, and they get so much character development done. You care about them, and she's got these tiny, tiny moments. The tiny spoiler for season 1 coming up, but she's got the two characters, the grandpa and the dad, who the grandpa is just so mean to him, just abuses him, and it's hilarious, and we love it because dad takes it so well. And at the end of season 1, when the troubles are escalating again, because it's set in Northern Ireland, so the IRA is attacking, and um, they're watching it on the news. The grandpa just puts his hand on the dad's shoulder as they watch it, and that tiny little moment tells us so much about how that family operates. I just admire it so much. And then just the fact that it's so irreverently funny. The character of Sister Michael is just genius. And you can see that the actors have been given this goes into the kind of the acting training side of my career, but the actors have been given freedom to just be as weird as they want, to make the biggest, almost theatrical, goofy faces. And the tone that they establish in that show is so its own. I just love it. It's like comfort food to me now.
It's so, so good. I just had some long flights back and forth to Chicago, and that's all I watched the whole time. Uh, and they have such a talent of either talking about someone coming out or Ukrainian
Mhm.
refugees or elsewhere where you're like, this could be heavy or weird or awkward, but it's just so funny the whole way through.
Yeah, yeah. They touch on, yeah, you're right. They touch on some real heavy stuff. I mean, it's a country that's it's practically in civil war as these kids are going to school, and they've got, yeah, the Ukrainian refugee, or the character of Claire. Is it Claire that comes out as gay? And of course, this is set in the 90s when that wasn't quite the same. I remember anyway. Yeah, you're right. They managed to. My favorite material usually does that. It juggles like really heavy content and ideas where you're also getting side splitting laughter.
Such a good one. Such a good one. Well, I know we're getting a little short on time. I want to make sure we cover this. Talk about what you're working on right now, what people should tune into, and if there's some place they can see face to face or any of your other work.
Kate, me or you first?
I can go first.
Okay.
My username is Poetic Kate on pretty much every social media platform. Face to Face has not been like publicly released yet, just because we've submitted it to some festivals. But I've made some other stuff. You can watch like some of my micro shorts and other short films I've made. Me and Nick will probably be making another short film soon because we've been talking about it, and we really just need to get it done and do it because it was really fun last time. But yeah, follow us on social media and you'll see what we're up to and what else we've been making.
Kate, tell them about the screenplays you're working on.
Okay, I'm working on 3 different screenplays right now. One is I've only started the treatment for, but it's heavily inspired by Guillermo del Toro just because he is my favorite director. I love him. So I wanted to just do a little homage to him. And I'm also working on a couple of really close to home screenplays that are basically a letter to my mom, and then the other one's a letter to my dad. So, I mean, without getting into like plot stuff, that's what those are.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram as the Ghost of Marlowe. That's kind of the handle I use on social media. So I'm there. Yeah, we talked about the screenplay I've been working on with a co-writer named Michael Burnett for a while, and that screenplay has been optioned, and we're really trying to gun for like a May, June shoot on that. It's called Thanks Dad. So if that ever sees the light of day, that's what people can look for. And I have a play that is kind of making the rounds. I think I'm okay to say this because I just signed a contract a couple of days ago that a theater company in New York is going to produce. The play is called The Value, and the theater company is called the Rockaway Theater Company.
That's awesome.
It's an amazing play. It's the one that took him like 5 years to write. The one that's like a decade in the making.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's great.
Dude.
I was going to say, we'll make sure to put in our show notes your social handles, as well as if you have links to when that play is coming or tickets or otherwise, we'll make sure to have that there too.
Yeah, definitely. It's slated for the end of May and into June next year is when it'll run.
Right. Awesome.
Right when you're trying to film things.
I know. Apparently the same time we've got slated to shoot. That's always the way, right?
It always is. You're either so busy you don't know what to do with yourself, or you're like, nothing's going on. Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds like the way it is. That's awesome. Well, thank you guys again for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun.
And I hope if nothing else, make sure Madison comes to your writer's room. And then I'd love to have you guys on again soon, talking about things.
Like I will go to his house and pick him up.
You've been to my house. Yeah, it's true.
Drag him out.
That sounds like a promise and a threat.
But like I have kissed Madison in his backyard.
It's true. It happened.
Yeah.
Come to my party next weekend.
I'll be
good.
there.
I'm gonna make some pulled pork.
Summer party. Summer never ends.
Summer never ends. Endless summer party.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. Yeah. We will talk again soon and have you on as you have more shorts and things coming out.
Awesome. That'd be fun.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah.
So good to meet you. Thanks, Madison, for getting us on here.
All right. So what have you been watching to get your mind off of all the events of 2024?
So I went camping.
Oh, wonderful.
Just to go out in the desert. And usually I will download a couple movies to my laptop so I can watch them in the pitch black of my tent. I watched V for Vendetta.
Oh, perfect.
Which was timely, I think. I don't know. No, maybe not that timely. I don't know. Time will tell. What a movie. This movie, so it's the Wachowskis. This movie just bleeds the 2000s. Yeah. It has a little bit of Matrix kind of stuff in it, but as far as how they film their action scenes are like the 2000s had a very specific way of filming action scenes that had a lot of slow-mo, inspired from the Matrix, of course, a lot of like motion blur and highly stylized with a lot of blood splatter, like unnecessary, unreal blood splatter. That's just for fun. Of course, V for Vendetta has Hugo Weaving in it as the titular V, as well as a younger Natalie Portman. I really like V for Vendetta. It's kind of set maybe 5 minutes in the future, UK, where a fascistic government has taken over, and you get V, who's this vigilante in a Guy Fawkes mask who has a proclivity for speaking with words, for alliteration, for V alliteration. And it's about him trying to, through basically vigilante terrorist acts, take down the fascist government in charge of the UK.
This is such a good one. I think the last time I saw this was 2016. I was on a study abroad in London. It was my birthday, and it was also the night before we went to the Houses of Parliament. So it was all the good things all at once of like, wait, isn't this what we're going to go to tomorrow? The thing he's about to blow up? It's kind of fun.
Remember the 5th of November and something is
the gunpowder plot, and yes. I forgot the next line. While living there, while doing my master's a couple years ago, I did not realize how big of a day Guy Fawkes Day was, but it's like our 4th of July.
Really?
Yeah. November 5th, there are fireworks, there's parties, there's people getting off of work early. My professor was like, your assignments due days later. You had no reason to do it on the holiday. And I was like, on the holiday, on Guy Fawkes Day? The mass and everything, it is like a real full-blown holiday. And he knew, he was like, you're American. You're not going to know how big this is. And I still was like, it can't be that big. But it was. So anyways, All that to say, this is almost like having a Independence Day insurgent movie for America, which would be our take. So it's almost easier for us to watch because it is British and we don't get it. But it is like, yeah, what if this poetic guy blew up the White House on the 4th of July? Oh, okay. But yeah.
Because some evil guy had taken it over.
Yep. Were you a fan of 1984 growing up?
The book?
Yeah.
Never read it.
Never read.
I know.
Oh,
I know.
Madison. Okay, maybe we read the book and watch the old ass movie and then review that.
Yeah.
But this to me was a great modernization of some of those themes and not so personal and depressing. Do you remember the tabloids when this movie was being made and Natalie Portman showed up bald to a red
No.
carpet?
No, I do not.
Having a mother and two sisters, it was wild. People had so many speculations, and it was not a good time for
Really?
stay-at-home moms who are in middle-class white America. It was like, what happened to her? What is she doing? Why is there no hair? Does she have cancer? It was a total freak out because she did shave her head.
Interesting. I do remember watching it and thinking, is Natalie Portman the most attractive woman on earth?
And what was the answer?
Yeah, she is. She can do long hair, short hair, no hair. Like, come on, guy.
Of all the Alan Moore movies, is this your favorite?
Uh, Truthfully, I don't know enough about Adam Moore's work.
Watchmen, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, yeah, okay, I've seen those. Yeah, I mean, I think I like this more than I liked Watchmen, although the HBO Watchmen series was really well done. I really liked that. This is a little bit more grounded than like Watchmen, which seems to be just like a commentary on superhero kind of movies. And so V for Vendetta is more grounded. Like it makes me want to be like ungovernable, you know? It makes me want to like collect art and like collect banned books that the government, because you know, apparently that's a thing now, is that books are being banned again. And I'm just like, okay, so we need to do our best to try and archive and keep these things that are banned so that, you know, when someone does blow up Parliament, we can have a foundation to start on again.
Rules to live by. Yeah. All right, V for Vendetta, 2005. Did you watch it streaming?
Yeah, I watched it on, I think it's on HBO Max right now.
HBO Max.
I mean, just Max.
Just Max. You're right. No better time. It's already past the 5th of November, but not too far past for us while recording. Give this one a watch.
What about you?
I took a different turn. I just went and saw Juror Number 2, which is presumably Clint Eastwood's last movie. Warner Brothers did a Zaslav special, as they always do, and decided not to release it widely across theaters. So they shrunk the number of theaters it went out to. And I don't know why, because this is like a movie for dads everywhere. So what they said is it was being released in about 50 theaters with no marketing support. It was a little divisive at moments. Do you know anything about the movie? Have you watched the trailer yet?
No, I have not, actually.
Oh boy. Nicholas Hoult. I'm going to give a small spoiler, so skip forward 30 seconds if you don't want to know. But in the trailer, it points out that Nicholas Hoult is on a jury, and it's for the murder of this girl, and they're presuming that it's her boyfriend. There was a drunk altercation. But then he realizes from his own memory that he might have been the one to kill her. He was driving home one night, thought he hit a deer, and he goes, oh my gosh, did I actually kill this girl? And so you get that spot in the first 20 minutes when that's revealed of like, oh, this could go so many ways. What's going to happen? And then the rest of the movie is watching it play out and seeing how it actually comes to be. And the questions of morality and do the ends justify the means and all kinds of things come to the surface. And I will say, it's just a great movie in that the performances and the acting are great. And while it doesn't surprise you too many times, I think by the end we get what we wanted from the beginning, where it doesn't feel cheap. Nicholas Holt's fantastic. Toni Collette plays the DA who wants to become more politically powerful, so she's there. We've got J.K. Simmons, who's also on the jury, but we've got a lot of other actors and actresses who you will recognize from places. Leslie Bobb, I don't know if you recognize her. Cedric Yarborough, a couple others where you're just kind of like, okay, they're familiar. The defendant is Chris Messina, who's really great from The Mindy Project. Anyways, this movie's a fun one, and The conversations leaving the theater had me more shook than the movie, in which I was sitting behind some Gen Z, Gen Alpha boys who were just like, this movie sucks. Toni Collette sucks. She acts like a robot. Like, no, this is weird. And then
Are the kids all
others,
right?
what?
Are the kids all right?
The kids are all space right. Yeah, they're all a little Republican. So
Alt right.
the kids are alt right. The other thing is there were a lot of people arguing over the legality of should you just put someone away because they've done bad in the past, or should you put someone who's good away who also has done something bad? And there was just a lot of gray area, and people were arguing all outside the theater. So, great movie for discussions, and I wish we could have a little town hall in which we discuss this one because it's really nice.
Interesting.
What else have you seen or been watching?
I also watched Babes. Did you ever watch? Did you ever see that one? Came out last summer or last spring. Did you ever watch Broad City?
I love Broad City.
Okay, so it feels like an episode of Broad City, right? So it's Alana Glazer. She wrote it and she stars in it. Hassan Minhaj is in it. Michelle Buteau. And it kind of feels like I'm spitballing here. I don't know if this is if this is facts, but what it feels like is this was the concept for the Broad City movie that they just could never pin down. Alana and Abby wrote it. You know, Abby, for whatever reason, couldn't do it or anything. So they pulled in another best friend for Alana in Michelle Buteau. And it's basically a movie about two best friends who are navigating having kids in New York City.
Right up her alley.
Yeah. And it basically, like, I don't know, you know, you watch it and you're like, oh, Alana Glazer is playing this character named Eden. It's basically Alana Wexler from Broad City. Like, there's almost there's no clean line between and I don't know if that's if that's an Alana Glazer, like that's the character that she plays on screen, or if that was just like an artifact left over from the fact that could have been a Broad City movie. The auspices of the plot are that Eden and Dawn, Alana's character and Michelle's character are best friends. Dawn is pregnant and she's married to Hassan Minhaj. And they live on like the Upper West Side or something in kind of the rich area.
Yeah.
And Eden and Dawn are best friends, and Dawn goes in and has a baby, and Eden's there with them and stuff. And she's so happy for her friend to have a baby and stuff. And then she takes a subway home in the middle of the night, and she has, a meet cute with this guy on the subway. And it's, one thing leads to another, and they have sex and stuff. And then he never messages her back. She's like, usually I'm the one to ghost someone else. Rarely am I the ghostee. Turns out he died off screen, and she's confronted with whether or not to have this baby of this man whom she only knew for less than 12 hours who died. And then, of course, the movie is of her carrying the baby to term, and then her and her best friend Dawn's relationship, ups and downs over the course. It's funny. It's well written. If you like Broad City, you're going to like this. Some of the drama is a little contrived, which you wouldn't, of course you'd expect, where you have best friends deciding to just like yell at each other over virtually nothing for the kind of the illusion of drama. There are some things that stretch credibility for me, and one of them is that Alana's character Eden is a yoga teacher. And that's all. And the place that she lives in by herself in New York is big and beautiful. And I don't know how much they pay yoga teachers in New York, but I know how much yoga teachers in Salt Lake make, and it's not enough.
No.
To have a big, nice place by yourself in New York. And so that stretched the credibility just a little bit, like my willing suspension of disbelief, just like a touch. But, other than that, it was a fun movie to watch and attend in the cold by myself. It's definitely not going to win any Oscars, and some of the writing, I think, struggled a little bit, but it's a fun movie. So if you like Broad City, you'll probably like this.
Yeah, I was going to say I had to look it up because I was like, did Abby really write it with her? It was co-written by Josh Rabinowitz, and he was a producer. I guess he wrote one episode, but he was a producer on some of Broad City, as well as the Gerard Carmichael show from 2017. Didn't know that existed, first off. And then he's done a lot of Rami, which I love Rami.
Yeah, Rami's fun.
That's great. I'm glad you really liked it. And to me, it feels like a clapback at like the absolute dumpster fire that Bridget Jones Wants a Baby was in 2015-16. That was a terrible movie in my eyes. So that's fun. And then I was going to also say Eden's love interest is Stephen James. I think he's a great actor and cool to see he was in this role.
For all of 15 minutes.
For all 15 minutes. And you said, where was this streaming?
I think I watched it on Hulu. Yeah.
Hulu. Okay. Watch Babes on Hulu. I'm going to wrap up our bookends today with a show that's not done yet, but I have just restarted. So Silo season 2 just started, and I rewatched all of season 1. I kind of did enough of a rewatch to catch up on what was what. Season 2, the first episode, it's interesting because I think you're expecting a lot more of just like in media res, but instead you're just kind of picking up where Juliette Nichols from season 1 left off, which I will not spoil for anybody. And it's kind of like an adventure episode. A lot of it's just kind of her on screen doing things, exploring with a nice little twist at the end. So don't be surprised. Don't go in expecting craziness in the first episode. It's going to kind of ease you in. But I like the twist and turn of where they've taken her, where the last season ended. With zero spoilers, start season 2 today on Apple TV Plus. I know I am.
Sounds good. I should watch it.
It's a good time. It's a good time. Well, let's wrap it up for today. Thanks for everyone listening. We hope you enjoyed our interview with Kate and Nick. You will find in our show notes all the links to their IMDb's, their Instagrams, how to contact them, and stick around next week as we come back with another interview and more to watch. Until then, watch good movies.